Today I walked into a GameStop and I bought a disc with a coupon for OnLive.
Yeah, I saw that.
With Deus Ex.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. A lot of people are pretty excited about that.
Oh yeah, well there's lots more to come. Lots more to come. So, what you're beginning to see is, obviously, it takes, the thing is that we're not used to, but we're getting a taste of when we started doing this, is how many months in advance they plan these boxes. What's printed inside of them, oh my God. So what you're seeing is the fruits of our labor from way early this year, to go and have these appear in August. At these PC boxes, and my God, that's just the way the traditional, physical media, video game world is. It's just the way it is. So, it's one of the reasons why it's so difficult for indies, for example, to do. An indie might write a game at the beginning of the summer and want distributed by the end of the summer, right? And it's just with physical media, it's very, very difficult. So, but anyway, the beauty of this is that, we're drawing a connection. If anybody had any, belief that we're trying to, say that there's no place for PC gaming, no place for console gaming together with cloud gaming, absolutely not. Cloud gaming perhaps is sort of the universal thing that connects all the pieces together. That's fine. But, there's going to be PC gamers out there figuring out some cool mods or whatever they're going to be doing, or maybe they want to, use a particular machine, more power to them. Why not, right?
Yep.
On the other hand, suppose they're traveling or I don't know, they want to play on a Mac or on an underpowered PC or play on a big screen TV or something like that. What's wrong with that too, right? And so, they really get the best of both worlds this way.
Yeah, I think it's great. Do you have any plans to do that with console games as well, or is it just something you're doing with PC games for now?
Well, we have to do it one by one. And in the case of PCs, then all we got to do is really strike a deal with the publisher, because it's their box and it's released. In the case of consoles, then we got to strike a deal with the consoles, and so it's up to them, when they would or if they want to do something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I think it's definitely going to put OnLive on the map more so now that all these PC gamers go out to buy the game and they see a code for OnLive. They're going to have to want to try it, Yes,
and we've already seen it. I mean, it's all anonymized, of course, but we certainly see how many people are redeeming the coupons and how many coupons are redeemed. And there's just been a flood of people coming in as first timers on OnLive today that obviously went out, got the PC disc, brought it home, and said, "Oh, what's this?" And it's great. And they're joining the community. They're adding to it. Who knows? Maybe they'll go and spectate, get some ideas, chat with people, and bring it back and play it on their own machine. It's all about basically making a better experience for people and making a bigger community.
Yeah, there's really no reason not to give OnLive a try if you get a free code for a game, It's definitely a great incentive.
Totally. And the other thing is, as there's like, add-on packs or other things like that, if you want to demo them before you buy them, we've already seen that, it sort of started in a big way with, when we did, Red Faction Armageddon, when there was no PC demo. So we saw a lot of, and then PSN happened to be down during that time. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
So the only demos that existed for Red Faction Armageddon were on Xbox Live, where you had a very big download, and on Live, where it plays instantly. And a challenge for demos through Xbox Live is that there's a lot of Xboxes that are one of the original ones that might have a 20 gig hard disk, right? So you go download a couple of 2, 3, or 4 gig demos, and you find out that you have to delete some of your Rock Band files, things like that. So for a lot of console gamers, it's just awfully convenient to go and check out a game on OnLive, just see if you want to buy it, right?
Yeah, certainly.
And then the arena, the other place, you go and you can go and see trailers, things like that. But if you really want to see people playing, you go in the arena and you can even talk with the guy who's playing it. So I think people are beginning to see OnLive as as increasingly a community. I mean, my guess is you've probably seen your numbers grow as well, as more people are getting on.
Yep, definitely. So you have these announcements that are coming out tomorrow?
Yeah, so that's under embargo until 11 tomorrow, and
Okay.
I think Jane probably told you about that, but
Yeah.
I can fill you in on the three big features we'll be releasing tomorrow.
Alright, so there's game chat, the parental controls, and the achievements being transferred over to Facebook?
That's correct, yeah, so you already got the general thing. So
Yeah.
So for group chat, we've now had a third form of chat, so there's been in-game chat for the games that have in-game chat. There's spectating chat, or when you're spectating, and now with group chat, your chat session, will go across games, cross spectating, across sessions, etc. And the other nice thing about it is you can invite, people through email if you want to. So, you go and say, hey guys, I'm ready to play some Borderlands or Homefront or whatever it is. They'll actually get a notification.
So how many people can be in a group? Is that unlimited or?
There's what we call a soft limit of 50 in one room. And the reason it's an arbitrary number. Yeah, obviously it's not even the power of two, right? So, because it begins to get unwieldy just in terms of managing a group if you have that many people talking, right?
Yeah.
And so we'll let it bubble above that. But if for some reason someone really wants to create a group of 100, then it will at some point say no more, because it's not a very practical chat group at 100, and it does put a lot of load on the system to be, because you think about it, it's got to integrate all those different voices simultaneously, and it's so there's no need to incur cost because we all share the cost of the OnLive system, if you will. But you can have more than one room, so you can be in different rooms, and you'll be able to mute or unmute as you're doing different things.
Okay. So can you be in more than one room at once and just have one muted and then unmute the other one and then? Or
yeah. You want the honest truth? I can't remember all the permutations. It's there. We think we've covered. You'll try it, I'm sure, first thing when you get it tomorrow, and somebody will do a good job walking through it. There's a lot of different cases now, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got the three different types of chat, and then you've got all the different individuals in the chat. Then you have more than one room. So, and we've tried to make the user interface as intuitive as possible. We went through a lot of iterations on it. No one's ever done this before. There are different community chat systems and game chat systems on other systems, but no spectating chat. And spectating is, and in all these cases, of course, people can come and go, right? They may join or exit spectating, or join or exit your group, or join or exit a multiplayer game. So the system has to keep track of all those different things, and we're also doing some pretty sophisticated signal processing on these things. We're doing, for example, echo cancellation. So if somebody is using a speaker on their PC or their Mac, it's tricky. It's also the first voice chat system in the world that's multi-platform. So you can be, chatting with people PC, Mac, or on the micro console. And it will soon be, as we add the Blu-ray players, TVs, and other devices, those all will be chat enabled as well.
Yeah. So is there a limit to the amount of different groups you can have?
I'm sorry, it limits how many groups you can have?
Yeah.
I don't think so. There may be one. I've never seen one. I don't think there's. I could find out. I don't think there's a practical
So
number.
unless you go crazy, there's no limit, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to run into the limit. If they do, you guys can probably report what it is. I don't know of any limit that there is to how many you can set up.
Okay.
I suspect you're going to get bored clicking on names and things like that before you hit the limit.
All right. Well, that definitely seems pretty more. It's going to make it more interactive than it was previously, and I think it would be easier to find your friends. Before you had to go look for your friends, figure out where they were. Now you can basically just ask them on the voice chat.
Sure, and when they log in, they'll just join your. They'll come on and say, hey, who's on?
Yeah.
So, and then as I said, the control panel, the overlay that comes up. I think we spent a lot of time. It's so complicated. You can think about it from a user interface design point of view. We had to really think through it, and we're certainly going to be interested in feedback on that because we do want it to be intuitive and for people to utilize it.
Yeah.
So the other couple of things that is true with voice chat is, of course, September 22nd, when we go live in the UK, it will work internationally. So you'll be able to, one of the first things we're sort of asking everyone to do in the States is to welcome the UK gamers when they sign on and kind of show them the ropes. So obviously there's a big time difference, but if you find someone from the UK who's online, you can probably tell by their accents, then welcome them to the club and hopefully make them feel at home.
Yeah, that should definitely be interesting once the UK gamers get on there and take part in voice chat.
Absolutely. I mean, as we add other countries, you're going to see people begin to join in who obviously don't speak English, which will work. I mean, if you speak their language, that's great. There's still, of course, text chat, and there is, you can also go through other means. You can also email them or whatever if they're on if you get to know them through and use some of these translation services that exist, online. But you'll be seeing OnLive rapidly expand internationally. And as we do that, we're going to be dealing with people coming in. The UK is pretty easy because they speak English. We've already had Canadians in and so on. But as we start adding other languages, it's going to be kind of interesting because you'll be doing multiplayer with people in other languages. And there'll be some voice chat where people go and you may have a group that's your French friends if you're multilingual and your English friends,
Yeah, of course. I know when OnLive first came out, they were showing screenshots and it showed like video chat. Is that anything you plan on doing in the future?
We will do it. The technology exists. It's funny, if anyone's ever seen the Columbia presentation I gave on an invention, I actually show some of our initial prototypes of OnLive where we had video chat running.
Yeah, I think that's where I saw it.
Yeah. So, when we started building the system up, we're always triaging with the resources we have which features. In fact, there's a whole bunch of features in this release that's going out tomorrow that just aren't activated yet because they've got one dependency or one little tweaky bug that we've got to fix or something. So when we release things, we have to triage through what's the most important thing. For example, what does a partner need? If we have a game that's coming out, the following week, there may be a feature that has to be either support something the game does. So it's a very complex decision process we make about what features get released when, and that's why you see sometimes things pop up here and there. It's not because we're trying to be, wonky. It's just that we've got so many things we can do and want to do, just have limited resources. So the video chat bit is a whole, suite of things that would need to be done in order to make it work. And it would work. First of all, if you're running on a laptop or on a monitor that has a camera, it works just fine. But if you're on a TV, then you get into a situation where we have to go and start saying, okay, what cameras does the microconsole support? Are we going to go? Should we work with some of the TV makers who want to build TVs into their television sets, and how we're going to do that? So it's a little more involved than voice chat, as you can imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing is the upstream bandwidth, obviously, is much more limited than downstream bandwidth. And it's also tends to be less reliable. Not because it's less reliable from the ISP's point of view. It's just that because it's limited, you'll have if there's other users in the household, they're more likely to congest the upstream channel than the downstream channel.
Yeah. Okay. So that
the longer we wait, the less issue that becomes, right? Because people get better and better connections.
And your algorithms keep getting better, and
Yeah, so we'll be bringing down the bandwidth even further on the algorithm. It it is let's see, is it in this release or the next one? I don't remember. But it will be coming out soon, and it'll be one of those things. Again, it'll be gradually rolling out. We'll try to let you know when the first users can get 1 megabit video. It will also improve the quality of the video at lower data rates. It's just the algorithm is just getting smarter, and it's getting better at understanding what are the features that are the most important to see. For example, if you're running at these very low data rates, you've really got to make sure that a map or text or things like that are important features are visible, are readable to make the game playable. I mean, clearly as you go down in data rate, some things get muddier, but what we try to do is make it so that background, like grass or trees, something that doesn't really matter, is less of a concern than other things that do. So this allows us to go to these lower and lower bandwidths. Plus, we've just come up with better improvements overall in the way we think about compression. So we're seeing the steady algorithm improvement.
So that's going to be 1 megabyte on, but you said that's going to be on netbooks and like the MacBook Air?
Yeah, I mean, it'll work on a TV. It's just when it gets blown up to a 60-inch size, it doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
But in a pinch, if for some reason or other you're visiting somewhere and that's the best they have, and you can tolerate the low-res image, well, you're welcome to use it. But we'll still encourage people to use higher bandwidth connections for the larger screens.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's so hard because it's a gradual evolution of improvement in quality, and I think I mentioned it to you before, is that the people who we see tend to notice the biggest changes are the ones that, for one reason or another, haven't used the service in a few months. For people that use it on a regular basis and who see the incremental changes we've done, they just don't notice it. For example, the earliest versions of OnLive that we're doing, that we were doing when we were doing prototypes long before we released it, we were looking at 10, 20 megabits a second in order to do HD.
Oh, wow.
And oh yeah, so it's been a steady migration.
I noticed the last update. I noticed the graphics got a lot better from when you went down from 5 to, what was it, 2.5 or 2 or something like that. I noticed the graphics got a lot clearer and more crisp, and gameplay was more crisp as well.
And it will continue to get better. I mean, it's just a matter of we have specialists in this area, and it always amazes me because before you get there, you can't be really sure how well how well it's going to work. But the guys they really brought. They gave me the 1 megabit demo, and I was looking at it on the screen. I'm like, I was just blown away because really the quality we're seeing is comparable to the quality we'd see at more than double that data rate. I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. Like people who are using beta, who were in the beta program before we went live,
yeah.
They almost to a 1 will talk about the dramatic difference in the quality of the experience.
How low do you think it can possibly get? Like, do you think you can
improve much? Believe it or not, audio. We're already at a point where, because the audio compression is very, very mature at this point, and if we start squeezing the audio down much more, it's going to sound kind of tinny, and it's just not going to sound that great, and or muddy, whatever it is, depending on what you choose to emphasize with the compression. But what's happening is, as we are lowering the data rate requirements for OnLive, of course, connection speeds are increasing.
Yeah, that's
true. One of the reasons why we've been emphasizing the low data rate stuff, sure, it helps people in their homes with PC, Macs, and TVs, but honestly, we haven't run into too many people that don't have at least a 3 megabit connection these days. What it really helps you is when we begin to release all this stuff on tablets, because you may be on a 3G connection or even the 4G connections. It's nice to be able to run down to that data rate.
Is that going to work on 3G connections?
Oh, sure, it does. Yeah. It's just, running into whatever the latency is of the network. With 4G, we're able to achieve lower latency. With well, it depends on which 4G. You'll do better with LTE than with WiMAX.
Okay.
And then with 3G, well, with all of these cellular systems, unfortunately, it really depends on whether or not, how much congestion there is. Can you use a tablet running OnLive in Times Square when you've got, thousands of other people sharing the exact same cellular, sector? It won't work. In fact, Google Maps don't work either.
Not until Dido comes out, right?
What was that?
Not until Dido comes out.
That's right. Well, and that's why we developed Dido.
Yeah.
We recognize that the technology as it was evolving, cellular technology is not going to evolve to the point where every situation will accommodate cloud gaming. Now, does that mean we're just going to not support, cloud gaming over cellular until Dido's there? Of course not. And that's one of the reasons why we're evolving the technology on multiple fronts.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and now the other feature that you're releasing is the parental controls.
Yes.
That's something.
So parental controls. Yeah.
That's something I think a lot of our forum members have been waiting for.
Mhm. Yeah. So with parental controls, a lot of people have asked us why we haven't released parental controls earlier, and I think I've said this before. We had 19 games we went live. If we had parental controls there, the kids would have 2 games to play. So we had to wait until we had a big enough library. And there's quite a few very good kids games there. And depending on the game, you may or may not want to allow your children to play games that are a little bit older, and depending on the child. So what we're going to do is there's a web settings the parent can go in there, and there's a separate login, a separate password that for the account. They'll allow them to go and set it's different. They can set it by teen or everyone or whatever they want to do. But they also can go and sort of fine-grain and enable certain games. Like some of the indie games are not rated. Well, we can't allow, if you just select teen, then we can't let you play those. We're going to disable those games.
Yeah.
But, for example, some of them have PEGI ratings, European ratings, and they're okay for kids. So if you as the parent choose to go and enable that game for your kids, go right ahead, right? And as far as, voice chat or chat or spectating or, other things like that, making at what level of visibility you want your child to have, you can go and make that choice as a parent. And, for example, if you want the parent to be able to chat with you, or you want to spectate them from a different account, that's fine. Maybe that's the way you want to do it, or maybe you just don't want to disable it completely. So I think that we've given people a pretty good suite of controls. We'll certainly listen to feedback and see if there's other things people want. But I think it's going to be a really, really great thing.
So it's going to be pretty comprehensive where you can either limit it to the rating or to specific games?
Yeah, there is some fine-grained controls. Now, again, the caveat is this is just going out tomorrow, and believe it or not, is one of the more complex features that we've had to implement because it really is a intersection of a lot of different parts of the service, right? Because you're getting into the ratings. We have to deal with the regions because there's PEGI ratings that we're about to use for the UK, and then there's ESRB ratings for the US.
Yeah.
Then we've got, then it figures into spectating, it figures into the voice chat, it figures into friending. There's a whole bunch of different places where it touches the service. So there may be a couple of tweaky bugs here or there that we are working on that will roll out over the next few days or weeks that will enable a couple other things. So it's mostly there. I think all the major features made it, but there may be a couple of small things that are not quite there just yet.
Does this mean that you're going to be bringing more kids-type games to the service?
Yes, we will. And you'll be seeing more, different offerings that are targeted to kids. We have lots of publishers that are very excited about that. Initially, we're going to start with the suite of games we have. You may have noticed, in fact, I love your weekly reviews. You've been doing the videos. I think they're very professionally done.
That's not me. That's a user named Pine Saw. He he volunteered to do that. He does a really good job. I'll let him know that we
Fabulous.
praised him on the.
Yeah. Yeah, so like I was watching, you did a review of Let's Ride, okay? Right, that's a game targeting teenage girls and things like that. You know, obviously we have an 18 or older service. There's not many people playing it. Well, now I think we can see why, because we've been loading up the library not just with great games like Deus Ex: Human Revolution, which clearly is not a kid's game, but also with a bunch of really, really fun games that kids will go nuts with. In fact, maybe we'll have, Mad Balls and Bobo multiplayer tournaments.
That should be fun.
Believe it or not, there are people that do multiplayer. We have a cadre of multiplayer Mad Balls people that are really into it for whatever reason. Kids love it. It's great, you know.
Yep. So now you also have. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think that you're basically seeing OnLive sort of spread its wings with its the various things that we've been investing in over the time. The library now is approaching 130 games, and it wasn't too long ago that we announced it was at E3. We announced 100, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing not only day-to-day releases, but you're seeing in-box co-releases together with physical media. This, I guess, is the first example of retail. Stores selling OnLive gear, and you'll be seeing more store-related stuff and more website-related, retail website-related stuff coming out.
Are you going to be selling micro consoles and controllers in retail as well?
Yes. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time and stocking, and the universal controller is something which is more applicable to a bigger cross-section of the product line for retailers. Because, of course, they can sell it with tablets as well and with the coming TVs and Blu-ray players. So, again, for people who have been the OnLive loyalists from the beginning and have kind of watched these things come out, I know it seems like it takes forever, but people need to understand that this is an immensely complex and large ecosystem.
In the whole scheme of things, I think you've been going pretty fast with everything. You look back, it's only been a little over a year, and you already have all this stuff out. Stuff's coming to retail already. I think it's just that everybody's so anxious.
Yeah, we're just 200 people, and we have some of those people do things like finance and HR, and so they're not out of that. Some percentage are doing development, and we have customer service people that are the ones that answer the phone. So you're talking about a very small team who is, of course, implementing a service that is is at this point, I would say, pretty much at feature parity, and of course it has features that are unique to OnLive with just about every game online service that's out there. I think the parental controls and the group chat, I guess, are the last big things that you might say the other services might have that were not yet available through OnLive. And for a lot of the services, if you want to do that, you may have to go to another service or what have you, but we don't have that option because we're cross-platform, so it's not like you can go and Skype with somebody or chat with them because you're in a PC. You can't just dive into a browser, etc. So there's a lot of things that have to work to make this all be cross-platform, and every device has its issues, and there's a lot of contractual things that have to be worked out. I think I may have said this before, but the biggest challenge in going from country to country is not about it's not really the technology. It's a lot of regulatory and and other different rules you have to follow. Different issues like that, pricing, the way you do wholesale versus retail, and how you recognize taxes. Boy, it is complex.
Yeah.
So we chug along here, and I think some people don't appreciate that. Yes, some of the things are so fun to work on, like a lot of these cool features and everything. There's other stuff that's not a lot of fun to work on, but nonetheless we have to do.
Yeah, I bet. Now, the other thing that you're announcing is the achievements being posted to Facebook and achievement brag
Mm-hmm.
clips as well. Now,
Mm-hmm.
are those how long can those brag clips be? The achievement brag clips. Are they the same
I
length?
think they're the same 10-second brag clips as the normal brag clips. I think it snaps one when
It
you
takes
get
it.
the
Yeah.
achievement. Um, so we haven't yet gotten into longer than 10-second brag clips. I think we have some other cool features that I'm not going to say that I think you're going to enjoy more before we get there. So again, it's part of the triage list of things that we could do theoretically, but again, with the resources we have, we think there's other features people would want more.
Yeah.
I think most people would agree group chat was a feature, and parental controls are more important, for example, than extending the length of brag clips or
Yeah,
other things. So
certainly.
we have to make those same decisions ourselves.
How about, like, do you have any plans to integrate into Twitter or YouTube with the brag clips, or?
We will be getting into these other services, other social services. We don't have any agenda not to. The only reason we went with Facebook is it seemed like at the time, particularly, remember there's Google Plus now, but at the time it certainly seemed like um,
Most
the most
mainstream?
obvious social
Yeah.
integration point.
Yeah, I agree.
We figured if somebody has a brag clip they post on Facebook, they could make a post it to YouTube afterwards if they feel like it,
Yeah, that's true.
But we will be doing those. We'd love to do those. You notice when you do the posting, it gives you two choices, either OnLive or Facebook for posting brag clips. There will be more choices. We just again haven't had a chance to implement all those things yet. So it's just feature by feature we keep adding them.
Yeah. Well, I definitely like all the Facebook integrations. I think it's going to give developers a lot of incentive too. Um, Another question I had, it's ever since you showed From Dust at the E3 on the
Mm-hmm.
tablet with the touch controls and stuff, a lot of people are wondering what the status is with that since it's already been released.
People are using it in beta, and it is a matter of just getting it out there. So it's the online player for both iPad and for tablets.
Yeah.
And
I mean the game From Dust. Like, is
the
there?
game From Dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're working with Ubisoft on it, and it's a question of I don't know the exact status of it. We do have the code, and we are getting it coded up. It'll be available, of course, not just on tablets. It'll be available
Yeah.
on all devices.
Yeah.
I don't, in my head, have the release date. It is coming, though. There's nothing dramatic holding it up. It's purely in the triage list. I think people are going to see a bunch of things that are getting a little backed up as we're rolling up to this UK launch. This is a very big deal, moving into the first, international launch, and the fact that we're across the pond and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of the resources are all in that area right now.
Yeah, so it's a big thing. It's how do you wake up a whole new country, a new currency, all different laws, different connectivity issues, and so forth. So I don't know where it is exactly, but it's something that's coming soon. We've got some great games that are coming out, and it's just a question of when they release. Sometimes it's like, who knows? The developer has some other thing they have to do, or there may be a feature it uses again that we're waiting on, or maybe it's tied with some other promotion for a tablet. The interdependency list that we have is very large at this point, so it is coming. It's a very, very cool game. Everyone who's played the thing, just kind of is awed by it because it's a different kind of game, and I think it also is perhaps going to help the community because I think it's going to attract a different kind of audience to some degree. It's just the more different kinds of games you have, particularly when you have parental controls and things like that. I think it just strengthens the community.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks like a great game, and a lot of people are looking forward to it. Is there any? The other question I had was about Linux. Is there any progression being made on bringing OnLive to Linux?
We don't have any agenda to not make OnLive available on Linux. It's a support issue for us. We have 800 numbers people call. We have to go and support things and keep everything running. And each time there's any kind of a release or an update, we have to make sure that every device that we support is able to work correctly. For example, the Android devices are all running Linux, so obviously we can make OnLive run over Linux. We have no agenda to not do it. It's just it's more about a question of when we have the resources to go and apply to it. We love the Linux community because it's people that are, well, frankly, a lot like the developers like us. Quite a few of the people at OnLive run Linux as their native OS on their laptops. Other people run Windows, other people run Mac. We're very agnostic, and other people have multi-boot machines, right? So we certainly would like to do it, but in terms of what our initial priorities are, we have, especially with the new, the main thing we're focusing. These are client resources. The people that work on the client devices. The short-term thing we want to bring up to speed for the clients are going to be, more tablets and TVs, Blu-rays, and media players. And again, people probably understand that just as a practical matter, as a business, getting those devices up and running and having the largest audience possible is a bigger priority than bringing Linux up first.
Yeah, I agree.
But we want to get there.
I'm really looking forward to
We love it. We love the idea. It's just kind of insurrectionist, like, oh man, I've got this Linux machine and I'm running these like super high performance games. So to me, I don't know. There's a side to me that likes that somebody's running total open source to go access to any game they want.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really looking forward to seeing OnLive ship on TVs and Blu-ray players. Then I can actually have OnLive in every room in my house.
Yeah, we really want to get it to the point where you just stop thinking about where OnLive is, and the device has it, and you spend your time thinking about what you want to play, who you want to talk to, and just dive into the games, dive into the community, who you want to interact with, how you want to interact with your other social network services, and so on. The more we can make the hardware transparent to your experience, the more we're going to get to that kind of nirvana where the whole hassle of what media you can get to and on what device you can get to it will just go and evaporate. We really need to get to that point. Today it's kind of even in the world of television and videos, it's still a little bit of a bumpy road. There's some devices there's some services that have this movie or this TV show. There's other ones that have another movie or another TV show. It's really an odd mix-up. So for gaming, the advantage we have in the gaming world is that we're dealing with a smaller library to start with. There just are fewer games than there are TV shows and movies. The other thing that's nice is that we're dealing with generally, people that are more tied, they have a better understanding of the technology world. And obviously, video games is the most technologically sophisticated form of media because it obviously is a piece of software as opposed to a piece of media, pure media.
Yeah.
So because of that, we have a chance of actually creating this universal way to get to gaming, and that is the first step. But eventually, expanding it so we can make it so, okay, we've now provided sort of this universal solution for media is definitely a place we'd like to get to.
Do you have plans to bring other media to OnLive, like movies and TV shows as well?
Well, with the browser, you'll be able to get to a lot of media sites that have movies and TVs. So we don't expect that we're going to be the ones to go and solve all that,
Yeah.
Frankly, it's much less of a technology question than it is a rights issue question. I don't envy the guys that are negotiating, over at Amazon or Netflix and so forth who are negotiating all these rights for the movies. Because in addition to having all the current rights, they've got all these huge historical ones, some of them lost in the sands of time, right?
Yeah.
Fortunately, in the game world, it doesn't go that far back.
Yeah.
So what we'd rather do is kind of hitch a ride and try to give people access to as many of those services as possible.
Yeah, so just like use a web browser to access those movies rather than stream the movies from
Pretty much.
their service.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. I think Voodoo was sort of the last service that wasn't available on a browser, but I think it is now. So, we have a way to get people there. Plus, you can get Netflix on your TV or on your, tablet, so you don't necessarily need OnLive to get those things.
Yeah.
With the resources we have, what we want to do is sort of get people access to the things they just can't otherwise get. I mean, the Deus Ex thing is just an awesome example. I mean, you'd need a pretty honking machine PC to play that game, right?
Yeah,
or you need a console or whatever, and it's a beautiful game. I mean, it's just the visuals in it and everything, the story. Why not make that accessible to everybody, right?
Yep.
No matter what device they have. PC sales are going down. Laptop sales are also in decline. And, people are moving to tablets and to TVs as their primary delivery vehicle. Well, we should make these games available to everybody.
I agree. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think, the seeds that were planted, a year ago, we looked at this a year ago, we still had a small library of games, we weren't on that many devices just yet. We were, people were still saying it doesn't work. We had never tried it.
People still say that, and they haven't tried it.
We don't hear it as much in the States. It's interesting now that we've been touring in Europe. It's still the case. It's fun. It's sort of like the U.S. all over again, where people who haven't tried OnLive are like, how can this possibly work? I can't get this to run over my connection. So, we pre-brief the press. We give them, we have OnLive game systems now with, UK power supplies and that are working there on our test farms. So we give it to the press, and they go and use this thing, and we get these like astounding responses from them, like, "Oh my God, how did you ever figure this thing out?" And I'm like, "Well, we've been doing it for a year, or over a year, and we haven't had any downtime yet, and it really does work." And so we're getting a bunch of those aha moments now in these new markets that we're entering. But it's still the case that we are up against this initial skepticism that we did have when we first launched in the U.S. But the big difference here is that now we're entering these markets with a large library of games, with a full suite of features, a large number of devices that are supported, and so on. And also a large community of people out there that are going to kind of show them the ropes and hopefully friend them and chat with them and so on.
Yeah, the gamers in the UK are definitely going to be surprised about how well it works. I mean, the US gamers all had to deal with this slow growth process, but the UK gamers are getting everything as it is, which is going to be pretty amazing to them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember, but the first US release we did was wired only to, Windows and Mac. That was it.
Yeah.
So that's the way we ran, and, a lot of people, when something works, it's very, as an engineer or as an inventor, we're painfully aware of this. When things just work, people begin to very quickly take them for granted, and they sort of have no understanding of the complexity underneath it. I mean, the fact you can fly, a couple hundred people in a machine in the air across the United States and get them there safely with hardly any bumps is to me still a miracle. And of course, there was 100 years of aviation technology that's behind that, right?
Yeah.
So with OnLive, the reason OnLive works is not just engineering; it's an immense amount of testing, and it's because each of these different things were not just released and said, okay, here it kind of works some places and it doesn't work other places. I mean, if you go back and look at the original reviews of OnLive from June of 2010, you're not going to find a single review where a reviewer says it doesn't work. On the other hand, people will go and say, well, geez, it's too bad it doesn't work with Wi-Fi. Well, there's a reason for it, okay? Wi-Fi is really complicated. It's got all sorts of different, behaviors that are very, very different than an Ethernet cable. For example, it will do its own retries that, and other things that we may or may not want it to do, and we have to go and adapt the way we use, the way we transmit data through it. And we didn't feel comfortable releasing it on Wi-Fi until we had well over 1 million sessions on the system. So then we released it on Wi-Fi, and we very, very carefully studied that, and then evolved it. And we again held off on releasing the microconsole until we were very, very confident that we had a reliable enough experience that the fact that someone couldn't do a trace route or there was no keyboard, there's no way to really debug the connection if you only have a TV connection, right? That we could release the product reliably, and that was the end of last year. Okay, so we're walking into the UK market where the OnLive game system is available at launch. Obviously, Wi-Fi, not only that, but cellular, tablets are available, etc. And by then, I don't know exactly how many games we'll have, but it's more than today. So who knows? Maybe we'll be approaching 150 games or so. So very, very, very different picture, and it's going to be promoted differently. BT, for example, is our partner there, and when you're releasing a product that is only a wired connection that works on PCs and Macs and has 19 games, it doesn't make sense for a large partner to go and help you market it, right? What's the point, right?
Yep.
But now it does, because we are a full-fledged game service. So again, a whole different world.
Yeah, it definitely should be amazing, the release in the UK. I think gamers are going to be pretty excited and surprised at what they see.
Yeah, and the other thing is, their big conference is Eurogamer, and so that's where we're launching it, Eurogamer Expo on December 22nd, and we got all sorts of stuff in store at the show.
Do you plan to have the tablets released by then?
The what?
Do you plan on having an Android? Yeah.
Yeah, we will try to. I think that's the fair answer, and it's the honest answer. We're doing the best we can on getting the tablet player working. We have games running on it; they do fine, and so on. It's just we have other really basic things we got to deal with. We're going to be accepting British pounds, sterling, and the way taxes work is different. I mentioned this before; they work different. They have different regulatory issues. They have this whole long laundry list of things that are very basic things, and we have to make sure that PC Macs and TVs work just perfectly. The tablets are right behind. I'm going to do my darndest to make it so the tablet player are available at the same time as the UK thing. If we hit a bump in the road and I have to allocate engineers to get something else ready for the UK launch on the 22nd, they may come just shortly thereafter, and hopefully the world will survive.
I'm sure it will. Another thing, I remember you talking about the game swap feature. Is that something you're still planning, or?
The game what?
The game swap. I think it might have been Joe Bentley that was talking about that maybe a few months ago, where you can swap in and out of games.
Oh, that I don't know about. I don't know whether he was talking about the feasibility of doing something there, or whether we were going to do it. So I don't even know how to reply.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's not something that we're releasing anytime soon.
Okay.
So So I don't know exactly what that was that he was talking about.
All right.
One thing I will say this is that I think what you're seeing with this Deus Ex thing is the publishers are finding they have lots of flexibility in how they pack their games. We did something similar. If you remember the Humble Bundle. In fact, I think it's still there.
Yeah.
Where you buy a download game and then you get an entitlement for the game on OnLive. So now we're doing of course, the physical media. So we're trying to make it again that people feel like they've got this continuum of entitlement from having their whatever their preferred means of accessing the game, as well as having it always available through the cloud.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome idea. Do you plan on doing that with a lot of your publishers as well, or just?
Yes, we will. There are other games that are going to come out that way. It's a sort of a real, as I think I mentioned before, it's a real humbling experience to see how early we need to get into the pipeline to get an insert into a game box.
Yeah.
They do all the marketing and everything way in advance. One thing that I'm not sure anyone noticed is that Deus Ex, I think, is perhaps the first game that has the OnLive logo in every one of the ads.
Yeah, we noticed
alongside
that.
Xbox and DSN and PS3 and whatever else. And so I think that's something that Square Enix and IOS Montreal really wanted to go and show that this is going to be a game that is a cross-platform game. Period.
Yeah.
And so you'll be seeing again more of that. It's one of the things that just has to sputter to life. It doesn't. Each of these different games has got a different marketing team, and they're being developed in different places around the world. The marketing is sometimes integrated with a game, or they've got other things going on, etc. So there's no kind of universal, button you push that suddenly puts your logo everywhere and puts an insert into every box.
Of course.
You'll see these things get gradually more and more. From the publisher's point of view, they love this because it's they want to have more exposure to their game. They don't mind people having a couple copies. They accept the fact there's a little bit of leakage.
Yeah.
If you gave someone their disc and kept the cloud copy, and that's okay. The things that they mainly concern themselves with, of course, is if you have 100 people get a copy of a game because someone cracked the security on it and then put it on BitTorrent, or 1,000 copies or 10,000, that's where it really is scary. And so, if much like those little codes that they have with Blu-ray discs, where you get a digital copy along with your physical copy, the publishers are very very happy about doing the same thing with their the physical games that they're distributing.
It's certainly an incentive for gamers to buy the PC version so that they get 2 copies and they can play it on the go, they can play it on their tablet, they can play it wherever they are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it works, again, it works beneficially to all parties involved, I think.
The one issue I've been seeing is some people are like, oh, I already bought it on OnLive. Do I still get the PC version for free?
It's not set up that way. For one thing, I think if they bought it on OnLive, they probably got a free game or a free online game system. So hopefully they felt they got a pretty good deal. If you buy the PC version, it does not come with a free online game system. So, but of course, I think it's reasonable to assume if you bought the PC version, you have a PC.
Yeah, that's right. I've been noticing a lot of. I've been noticing a lot of the community members. They're just happy that OnLive's doing this because it's going to help more people find out about OnLive. Not really too many mention the fact that they wish a few say they wish they knew this before they purchased the game, so that they could have bought the PC.
You'd have to be somebody who doesn't want to get any other game, didn't want to get the additional. We threw in, of course, Deus Ex 1 with the Deus Ex 2. I challenge anyone to get Deus Ex to run on a modern machine. So we had a huge amount of engineering to get that old classic to run beautifully on our brand new servers, right?
Yeah. So
we do think the value for the people that are in the OnLive community to get the OnLive version is there. But there are people that they want the disc for their PC, and they make mods or whatever they're going to do. That's what they want. That's great. We don't want to go and put people to an either-or proposition. We'd like them to, really have the best of both worlds.
Certainly.
And I think that the number of people who are getting it OnLive that really also want to do the install in their PC and so on, generally there's not a big intersection between those two worlds. I mean, you need a pretty high performance modern PC to run Deus Ex. It's a pretty high performance game. The new version, the one just came out.
Yeah.
And you're probably getting it from Steam game or you're buying the disc copy over, at a retailer. So again, it's a different thing. I think that we view this as that person wants to go and connect with the online community, spectate, perhaps make a bracket if they figured out to do something really cool. Or if they're traveling, they really love this game and they have their laptop with them, or they're visiting, their parents or grandmother's house or something, and they want to play the thing, and there's just no way they could play that machine at this other location. Okay, here it is.
Yeah, it definitely makes things a lot easier.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. Like for example, you ever take an iPad and you go and pull up Defense Grid? Defense Grid's there, but it's not the game. What it is a sort of a social aspect of it, for ratings and things like that, because it's a little too high performance, at least in its current form for iPad. That a lot of people just don't realize that high performance gaming is still out of the reach of the vast majority of the population.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, a lot of people have Xboxes and PCs, PlayStation 3s and Wii's, which again are we had probably placed at a medium performance gaming system. But really, most of the people who are a lot of these, millions upon millions, I guess it's billions at this point, of people who are buying these casual games on smartphones and tablets. They are, this is an audience of people that may very, very well enjoy these high-performance games. But for one reason or another, maybe it's what income they have, maybe it's their circumstances, they just don't have room where they live, particularly outside the United States. It's just the case that they can't get access to these games.
Well, what's great about what you did with this game is that even the people that do have access to the high-end PCs and stuff, they still are going to want to play it on the go. They're still going to want to play it on a tablet when that's available. So this gives them that opportunity as well.
Well, yes. We of course have all this information in an anonymous form, but we do show how many coupons have been redeemed today. It's a huge number.
Yeah.
We know it's not. It was a theoretical proposition yesterday. Today, it no longer is. Yes, it is the case that people who buy the PC version of Deus Ex are very interested in trying it out through OnLive. So we kind of suspected it because we saw it happening with the Humble Bundle. That there was a huge crossover from the people that would download it and then would go play the games on OnLive. So we knew that we figured it was going to be a success, and indeed it is.
Certainly is. All right, well, I guess that pretty much sums up all the new stuff. And one last question I have is about the web browser. Any news on when that's going to be released?
We have well, it is working. Technically, there's no obstacles. The only thing is that we have to go and release it in a form where we have the proper level of security and so forth that runs on it. We're sort of giving somebody a high-performance computer connected to a 10-gigabit connection. So we want to make sure that it's used properly, and that's the only issues really with it. And again, it's thrown into the triage pool here. We're trying to get it going as quickly as we can, and I'll have to go, and I don't know exactly what the status is. People are using it in beta, and they love it. They're shocked at how fast web pages come in.
Yeah. Is it
possible? It's very handy, of course, in the micro console because you now can go and check out videos.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Is it possible this will be released by Eurogamer?
It is possible. I don't know. You would think as a CEO I would have my finger on the pulse of every single thing. These features, those servers that you're running on when you connect to OnLive, they have browsers, and they have the browser in them. They have these various games that are not available. They sit there latent, depending on where they are and what state of development. And then when we, for whatever reason, have crossed the threshold where we have, whatever supporting issues are in place, or we get the okay from the publisher, or whatever the thing is, then we flip the switch on. We have so many different things. You're speaking to the CEO, so I do oversee all these different things, but I also
You're a
end up
busy
in meetings,
guy, I
and then I
know.
come back and don't always get completely updated on the status of each project. So it's there because I've been showing it. I just demoed it. I've been demoing it like in New York. I did a demo recently with that Next Work thing, and so what you see there is the real thing. It's not a pretend browser. It's just a question of exactly when the switch gets flipped, and we'll let you know as soon as we can.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, as always, it was good talking to you.
Yeah, it was
And
another great
keep up the
interview.
great stuff.
Thanks again.
All right, we'll see you. All right, bye-bye.
Alright, talk to you later.